Tensions in Mexico with American expats. I made a video about 2 weeks ago where I talked about how the attitude of Mexicans is changing toward American foreigners who are visiting or especially living long term in Mexico. And I'll put a link to the video down there and in the description. So I have a little update. So in that video, I was primarily talking about my experience here in Merida, which is in the state of Yucatan in Mexico on the Yucatan Peninsula. But I also mentioned Oaxaca, and that is one of the southernmost states of Mexico on the Pacific side, so on the west side. And I keep hearing that it's really they're very unfriendly to Americans at this point in Oaxaca. So since I've been in Mexico, which is about 9 months now, I've been hearing things about, spray painted tags saying gringos go home. I have not personally seen those. And I've been in Playa del Carmen. I spent like a couple nights in Cancun, but I didn't really see a whole lot. I've been in Merida and I visited Guadalajara for a month. So I haven't personally seen these things, but a lot of people have told me that they exist, and especially in Oaxaca. I'm still doing some digging to find out exactly what happened in Oaxaca, like what exactly caused them to be more overtly angry at Americans. And I don't know, but I know that some of my friends that I've made here who are from Europe were in Oaxaca and they didn't have any problems. So the gringo go home really is about Americans. It's not just white people. Apparently, if you are in Oaxaca and you're white, but you have a non-American accent, people will treat you differently. I don't know how the gringo thing applies to people of color. My guess at this point, and it is a guess, I haven't done enough research yet, is that if you're from America, it counts. It doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, right? So my friend from Norway, I believe, she went down there. She didn't have any problems, right? But she did say that she did see the graffiti of the gringos go home. Now, the interesting thing was I was at my local cute little coffee shop. It's called Sonora Walking Coffee. They're not sponsoring this or anything, but if you're in Merida, come to Itzimna and go check them out. It's a father and son, Juan Luis and Juan Luis. They're amazing. And but I was standing outside, and these three other customers walked up, and they turned out to be from South Africa. And they said that they had been living in Oaxaca for a while, and they were just visiting in Merida. And so I broached the subject. I said, "Well, first off, Juan Luis Jr. introduced me to them, and he said, this is Heather. She's from Estados Unidos, United States." And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm like a good gringa. I'm gringa bueno or buena." Still learning Spanish. And they laughed. Like one of them laughed like really hard. And so I brought up the topic about the anti-American sentiment that's becoming more prominent in Mexico. And they said, yeah, they've definitely seen the graffiti in Oaxaca. And it is pretty prevalent. But they said that also there's some people that will go behind and they will actually they will spray paint over the gringos go home and put like gringos welcome. So not everyone in Oaxaca has this sentiment. And I don't know specifically what part of Oaxaca that they were staying in that they saw the people kind of saying, no, gringos are okay. But I have to wonder, like, are they really saying, no, Americans are right? We're good with Americans. Or are they more saying like, don't put this shit up because we like American dollars, right? So Oaxaca, some people seem to be okay with gringos and other people don't. I wouldn't travel there unless I was going to be with like a travel group right now, me personally. And then an update on things here in Merida. So I haven't been walking as much, so I haven't noticed, people not responding when I say buenas tardes or buenas noches. But what I did have an interesting experience yesterday. I had to go to McDonald's to meet a photographer friend of mine that's doing some videos for me. So I'm gonna have some like really fancy videos soon. But I was meeting him at McDonald's, and I don't really love McDonald's in the States or anywhere. I really don't like them, but I was starving. So I was waiting in line, and the people behind the counter were like very much ignoring me. And, I'm like, okay, I get it. So I'm not going to get angry. I'm not going to be an asshole. I'm not going to show them what they think an American is, right? So I just kind of patiently waited. And when the guy like finally acknowledged me, I said, disculpa, which means excuse me. I said, mi español es malo, which means my Spanish isn't good. And, I was going to try to order, and I did order in Spanish, but I knew it was going to be bad. And most people are very gracious, when you say that. And most people in Mexico, if they can see that you're at least trying to speak their language and you're trying to integrate a little bit, you're not trying to force them to completely adapt to you. Everybody else has been really welcoming, and they've tried to help me with my pronunciation or, help me with grammar or whatever. And the guy behind the counter like rolled his eyes at me and just said, yeah. And I ordered and they gave me their food. One woman, the woman that was actually bringing my food and like putting it on the counter, she was nice. She actually smiled at me, but like no one else did. Now, I don't have a before experience to contrast that with because, like I said, I rarely go to McDonald's. So, but I didn't see them being that way with other people, and I was the only gringo or gringa in the place. So yeah, I haven't heard any more stories about problems. Like the first video I talk about, a friend of mine was in a restaurant and she was her and another American and two Mexicanos. But the Mexicanos looked very European. And so this group of college students were getting drunk and they started calling them gringos. They thought the whole table was Americans. And so they started calling them gringos. And that's the worst thing I've heard. And I haven't heard anything like that, anything else like that in the last couple of weeks. And one of the things that I found, and I made a video about this as well that I can put in the description, is that a lot of Mexicans, at least in the Yucatan, believe that if we are from America, that we support Trump and we support his agenda. And that's another thing that's like really fueling the bad, the bad vibes. So I've been just kind of like educating people. I'm like, yes, he is the president. Yes, he was voted in, but no, not everyone, thinks that that was a great idea, basically. And it's funny because the people that I talk to and I tell them that they're genuinely shocked. They're like, really? Like, I thought American loves him. And I'm like, no, not everybody. So I would love to hear those of you that are American expats or foreigners that are traveling or living in Mexico. Are you seeing any of this? I know I've talked to some friends in Guadalajara. They said they haven't noticed anything. I talked to like two different people in Guadalajara and they said they haven't seen anything, haven't had any bad experiences, haven't noticed a change in people's attitude toward them. And then I had a friend who is American who went to Baja California and she was traveling with Spanish speaking people. I think they were Mexican and she doesn't really she's learning Spanish, but her Spanish isn't good. And that caused like a little bit of tension during the trip. Like they were frustrated because they kept having to translate everything for her, which, I totally get. But she said that she didn't get any bad feelings from them, nor did she notice any like malcontent, like anti-American sentiments in Baja California. So yeah, but I would love to hear what other people are experiencing, other expats, other foreigners. If there's locals, obviously I'm speaking English, but a lot of locals do speak English, and you want to chime in on this, I would love to hear your thoughts. But only if you're proposing solutions. So one of the things that I'm doing to try to help, right, is I've got a group that's encouraging people to learn Spanish in the local dialect and also start integrating with local people so that we can learn the cultures and traditions and not necessarily assimilate, but like integrate and know how to be better neighbors. And because I really like Mexico, I really, really, really like Mexico. And I really don't want to go back to the United States right now. And I understand why Mexican citizens are very frustrated, with Americans right now, even though, I'm not personally doing it. I get it, right? So I'm going to wrap on that, but let me know in the comments what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and I'll be back with more updates about Merida, Yucatan, Mexico, being an expat in Merida, and also just some fun stuff. So stick around, subscribe, and let me know what you would like to hear.